After being killed by my own father, I woke up 500 years later. To make matters worse, I was reborn into the body of a villainess, a woman hated by her family and fiancé for her weak health and sharp personality. All I wanted was to live peacefully and find out why I was reborn. But now, my once cold family and fiancé are suddenly vying for my attention, and my slave from 500 years ago has also returned, completely healthy. On top of that, immortal weapons from ancient times have also begun to gather around me. What will happen next? Follow along to find out. Before we get into the story, please place your beautiful finger on the like button and subscribe to the channel to support the admin and enjoy the show. Now let's watch. Yesterday, I was murdered by my father. A girl was pushed off a cliff by a man into a river of lava below. She screamed, "Father, Seraphine Van Tiemann." I was born the second princess of the Tiemann kingdom, but unlike my other sisters, I had no special abilities, nor the wings that symbolized the royal bloodline. I was an imperfect princess. In the palace, a courtier proposed, "Your Majesty, the existence of a wingless princess brings down the honor of the royal family." The king, sitting on his throne, replied in a somewhat heavy tone, "Leave Seraphine alone. If left as she is, the princess will live as if she were dead." She stood outside the door, hearing the entire argument inside. Just as they said, she lived quietly in the palace, pretending not to exist. But when she came of age, she found a way to prove her worth. She entered the great hall, a spear in her hand, presenting it to the king. "Father, I wish to present to you a weapon infused with a soul. A new kind of weapon that has never existed in this world. A special weapon that allows even those who have never killed to commit massacres with ease." At the height of the wars of conquest, the Tiemann kingdom achieved a series of victories thanks to this weapon. But creating this weapon required a soul. This caused outrage, with many people protesting against it. A weapon in exchange for a life. Killing people to make weapons? She's a disgusting villain. How horrible. Destroy the villain. She stood in her room and looked outside, where the wars were still raging. I thought that possessing these weapons of destruction would soon end the war. But the war did not stop. As the war continued, I created 8 weapons. But instead of ending the war, these weapons only took more lives. She looked at the desolate landscape of war, unable to believe what was happening before her eyes. I swore to myself that I would not create any more weapons. Inside the palace, her father stood behind her, pleading, "My daughter, just one more. If you create just one more weapon, this world will be ours." He made another request of her, "Teach me how to infuse souls into weapons." However, she said nothing and left the king behind. The king returned to his room, recalling the words of the high officials in the court who always spoke of Seraphine. "The princess is betraying us. What if she ends up creating weapons for another kingdom? We have tolerated her until now only because of the weapons she has created. Now that the princess is behaving this way, it would be better to eliminate her and take the weapons for ourselves." All of this swayed the king, and a malicious thought about Seraphine, his own daughter, arose in his mind. He slammed a knife down on the table. "Where's Seraphine?" The scene from Seraphine's past appeared once again. Without hesitation, her father pushed her into the river of lava. Yet, even though she was pushed into the chasm of molten lava, she had a very strange feeling, as if she were falling into a lake. Before her, the image of a person who seemed to be reaching out to her appeared. "I can't breathe." Are you all right, my lady?" She was lifted from the lake by that person and asked in surprise, "My lady, are you talking to me?" He replied, "Stop joking. My lady will be dealt with according to the law. Because you trespassed into the sacred spring where baptismal rites are held, you will be imprisoned for destroying national property." She looked at the symbol on his clothes. This was a symbol she had never seen before. Are they saying they're going to throw me in jail? He put handcuffs on her, and she still didn't understand what was happening. "I'm not a lady." She looked at her reflection in the lake. "What happened to my face?" She was thrown into a cell, trying to call out to the person in front of her from behind the bars. "Wait, you there. Listen to me. Please understand that there must be a misunderstanding. Here, I am not a lady. This body isn't even mine." He replied to her, "No matter how crazily you act, we will not release you. I will remove your handcuffs so you don't feel uncomfortable. Besides, this sacred spring is not deep enough to kill anyone. If you wish to attract the attention of your fiancé, the crown prince, please find another method." She asked in surprise, "The crown prince?" "That's right. You're the crown prince's fiancé. The only lady of the empire, Lady Seraphine von Rubia. The empire? When did the Taiman kingdom become an empire? The empire has existed for over 500 years. What are you talking about? She truly couldn't believe it. 500 years? Thinking back, on the way here, I only met humans. They had no wings, but they all seemed free. The once oppressed humans were able to build an empire. Have I really fallen 500 years into the future? In the body of someone with the same name as me. I'm sure I died. What is happening to me? She returned home, and the headmaid came before her and said, "My lady has returned. I heard the story. You fell into the sacred spring. Is that right? The Duke saved you and bailed you out. So remember to express your gratitude later. For now, you should wash up. I have prepared water in the bathtub for you." She heard the whispers of the maids. Nearby, she fell into the sacred spring and was even thrown in jail. What a laughable sight. Even a beggar looks better than her. Still no news from His Majesty, right? With a personality like that, who would care about her? She walked up behind them, and they all startled and stammered. "Please rest, my lady. It's the same everywhere. There are always subordinates who look down on their superiors. If the elders look down on others, then those under them will act the same way. Just like what I experienced before. Of course, no one is worthy. In the early morning, I still hadn't woken up. I thought this might just be a dream. Perhaps I have to accept the fact that I am Lady Rubia." As time passed, memories belonging to the true owner of this body gradually returned. Lady Seraphine Rubia suffered from a rare disease and depression. The guard said that Seraphine simply jumped into the sacred spring to get attention, but that wasn't the truth. She really wanted to die. The sacred spring is where baptismal rites are held for high-ranking nobles at least 100 days old. That baptism blesses the birth of a new life. Knowing she couldn't die from the depth of the water, Seraphine took poison and jumped into the sacred spring, hoping to be reborn instead of dying. Everyone, including Seraphine herself, knew she would soon die from her rare disease. Therefore, those around her treated her as if she were already dead. Thus, Seraphine tried to attract everyone's attention, even if it meant acting unreasonably. She didn't want to be forgotten after she died. Tired of Seraphine's behavior, her family gradually began to ignore her, and the servants who noticed this also began to treat her with indifference. I was angry because even though my body had changed, the situation was no different. At this point, I felt empathy for the original owner of the body. It's come to this. I should side with the original owner of the body. I need to find out how I ended up in this body. The maid called her from outside. "Your meal is ready, my lady." She was startled looking at the food on the table before her. The food was so bad I couldn't eat it. The maid beside her smiled as if nothing had happened. "Is there a problem?" She found them shameless. "It seems you didn't check the food before bringing it to me. If I have to live as Lady Rubia from now on, I need to sort these things out first." The maid casually asked back, "What do you mean? I don't know what check you're referring to, but I'm sure this food is for you, my lady." "All right, I understand. In that case, you should eat it first." The maid immediately became anxious. "I can't eat the lady's meal," Seraphine said. "I suspect it might be poisoned." The maid immediately replied, "It can't possibly be poisoned." Seraphine said nonchalantly, "That's something we can't be sure of. You don't know that, no matter the position, there are always those who want to bring you down." At this moment, the maid thought bitterly. I heard that no one trusts her, so I was just going to do what my boss told me and try to get a hefty compensation. Have I gone too far? Seeing the maid pick up the plate of food with hesitation, she continued, "If you're afraid it's poison, don't worry. I have a doctor who can come immediately if I call." The maid put the food in her mouth. At this point, the other maid couldn't bear it and wanted to spit out the food in her mouth. Seraphine stood up and grabbed her wrist, saying, "Don't spit it out." Another maid came up to support her, saying worriedly, "It seems there has been some mistake here. I will make another dish." "No, call the head maid. I was told the lady was calling for me." She asked, "The servants serving me are not qualified to work at the Duke's house. How are they trained? I don't understand what you're talking about." Hearing her answer, she understood. Clearly, all the maids were in on it together. How disappointing. "Don't you see what's happening?" She replied nonchalantly. "It seems there's a misunderstanding. I will instruct the chef sternly to ensure this doesn't happen again." She walked towards her, took the plate of food, and poured it all over her head. She was stunned. "What are you doing?" She held the plate and glared at her. "I thought you were a trash can." Unfortunately, it seems there was a bit of a misunderstanding. You stand in front of me and pour food on me. How can you say it's a misunderstanding? I can't take it anymore. I will report this to Duke Rubia. What are you going to tell my father? That you feel bad for being scolded while serving spoiled food to a lady? You say that so eloquently. Go ahead and say it. Then, This kind of food will also be sent to him. All right, it seems both you and I have something to say to my father. Why don't we go see him right now? Her attitude frightened the woman. My lady. She was very surprised, thinking to herself, strange. Before, just mentioning the Duke would shut her up. Seeing her attitude, she said, don't worry, I won't say anything to him. Really? Instead, fire all the servants. A new servant will be trained by me to serve me. Whatever you do, you must arrange the work to my satisfaction. The head maid looked at Seraphine, thinking to herself, every detail, her eyes, her voice, and even her gestures. This is something I've never seen before. This young lady has changed. Back in the room, Seraphine was now resting, and the maid was cleaning up her outfits. Are you really going to throw all these clothes away? Yes. They're so beautiful, what a waste. It's fine, they won't be needed anymore. Seraphine looked at the clothes being thrown away and said to herself, even so, they might have been useful to the real owner of this body. Suddenly, she had a coughing fit, and the maid immediately asked with concern, are you all right, my lady? It's just a little cough, I'm fine. Seraphine looked at the maid, thinking, come to think of it, she just started today. I feel a little bad, but if I want to fire the head maid, I have no other choice. The maid carried the clothes. Is something wrong, my lady? I can't find my favorite piece of jewelry. What? It's a memento from my father, so it would be very troublesome if it were lost. Can you help me find it? The maid approached. Of course, my lady. Describe it to me, and I'll look for it while I clean. It's a brooch with a yellow topaz stone. Let me know as soon as you find it. Leave it to me. Oh, by the way, Count Dan Cleo is about to arrive. Seraphine was surprised by the maid's reminder. Count Dan Cleo? Your philosophy tutor, my lady. In the drawing room. It's been a long time, lady. Rubia. Yes, it has been a while. You look very put together today, my lady. I realized I need to change myself. A commendable mindset. Well then, today's lesson. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have something to say. Seeing Seraphine suddenly interrupt, Count Dan Cleo was a little annoyed. What is it? He thought to himself. I wonder what excuse she'll come up with to skip the lesson today. Seraphine replied with a serious expression. I will no longer be attending your lessons. From today, you no longer need to come to the Rubia residence. Lady Rubia, forgive my frankness, but do you realize how far behind you are in your studies? Yes, I realize that. If you know that, then avoidance is not the solution. Moreover, I am teaching you under the direct order of the Emperor. That means your desire to escape lessons will not be enough to dismiss me. In that case, let's settle it with a test. That's the fastest way to prove my abilities. If I fail, you can punish me as you wish. Then Seraphine took the tests and completed them very well, which left the theology tutor, etiquette tutor, and science tutor stunned when they received the results. Seraphine stood in her room looking down at the astonished tutors below with amusement. I'm glad I dealt with all of them at once. Staying up all night to prepare for this was worth it. Finally, I have some time for myself. It's time to retrieve my weapons. The 8 weapons I created are indestructible. I thought I could find their whereabouts by looking up historical records. With that in mind, I immediately started reviewing the documents, but I couldn't find any recent trace of them. The historical records only mention that after the kingdom fell, the weapons were scattered everywhere, and from a certain point, their whereabouts became unknown. What could have happened? Can weapons die? The weapons will remember what happened 500 years ago. If I find them, I might know why I fell into this body. Wait, this is... The maid's voice interrupted Seraphine's thoughts. My lady, Duke Rubia is calling for you. Father? She went to her father's room as summoned. I heard you summon me. Her father replied, sit down. This person is Robert von Rubia, Seraphine's father. You've been rather quiet lately. Seraphine pulled up a chair and replied, yes, father. I heard your tutors have left, saying they have nothing left to teach you. The emperor seems particularly interested in this matter. Seraphine replied, I only showed what I know. That shouldn't be a problem. And what about you wanting to throw away your dresses? I've decided to sort out what I no longer need. Seraphine said to herself, he didn't mention anything about my time in prison. How is your health these days? The same as usual. I'll overlook your temper tantrums for now. I'm sure that will change in a few days. Seraphine didn't reply to her father, thinking to herself, I don't want to waste time on unnecessary conversations. Father, there's something I want to tell you. I'm planning to go out. Go out? I think I'll take a walk around the city. How much do you need this time? She was surprised by his question. What? You're telling me this because you need money, right? I was wondering why you want to throw away your dresses, but now I understand. You spent all your allowance. Next time, no need to beat around the bush. Just ask me directly. No, that's not it. Are you sick again? I told you I'm fine. It's nothing. Father, you don't need to. Suddenly, she felt her strength leave her. Shortly after, Seraphine fell from her chair. Her father called out in alarm. Seraphine, it seems she has caught a cold. What? That's impossible. If she felt even a little unwell, she would complain immediately, but she told me she was fine. Just because she doesn't show it doesn't mean she isn't sick. She's usually so careful about her health. This is so sudden. My lady, what is it? Ah, we just found the person who stole something she cherished. Something she cherished? It's the brooch she was looking for. We found it in the head maid's room. What? Bring the head maid to me immediately. Seraphine thought drowsily. That's good. She said, water. Is this what you needed? Icarus? Who are you talking about? I came all this way to take care of you, and now I have to hear about your boyfriends too? Joshua, Seraphine realized. So this is Seraphine's younger brother. The young man who had just brought the glass of water said, who else would be here? Did you fall into a fountain recently? It's no surprise everyone's fed up. You're always doing things like that. Your personality is really annoying. You know that. She said nonchalantly. You must have been very worried about me. Huh? What? No way. Looking at her younger brother in front of her, she thought to herself, even so, thanks to Seraphine's memories, Joshua doesn't feel like a stranger at all. I feel more at ease. Joshua said, Father fired the head maid because she was accused of stealing your things. What exactly did you do this time? Why do you assume I did something? Because of how you usually act, and the head maid said you gave it to her. Do you believe others more than your own sister? I have no reason to frame someone just to get them fired, right? Faced with Seraphine's question, he was a little flustered. No, I was just saying. He wondered, what's with her today? Joshua continued. At least those cursed wings didn't appear. It was just a light cold. Lady Rubia, Seraphine, has a rare disease that causes wings to grow on her body. People with this disease often die before reaching adulthood. The cause is that the life energy, mana, which should be distributed evenly throughout the body, concentrates into wings. There is no specific cure for this disease. Seraphine has to use medicine and magic circles to seal the wings, preventing them from unfurling. However, it's all temporary. The day her wings unexpectedly unfurl and her mana goes out of control, her body will suffer severe damage. In the worst-case scenario, she could die. I finally grew wings, but if I use them, I will die. Joshua brought a vial of medicine, interrupting Seraphine's thoughts. Here, it's medicine. You should drink it. Why are you here? Why? Does my presence bother you? Why don't you throw a cup at me like you usually do? Oh, hearing Joshua say that, Seraphine lowered her face and gave a slightly strange smile. She looked at the table and threw something at Joshua. He instinctively covered his head with his hands, but the thing thrown at him wasn't a cup, but something else. He was surprised. Huh? What's this? Candy? Come back for more candy later. I'll prepare the flavor you like. What flavor do you like? Seeing Seraphine's casual demeanor, Joshua left, slightly embarrassed. Candy? Seriously? I'd still come even if you didn't give me candy. You should go to sleep. Seeing his reaction, she wondered. So he doesn't like strawberry-flavored candy? Joshua came every day to take care of me. Have you eaten yet? Joshua only did two things when he showed up unannounced. First, he would pick a fight. I picked this up on the way home. I'm full. You eat it. Thanks. Then he would stare at me as if he were observing me. Is there something you want to say? Ah, no, it's nothing. I'm leaving. She threw a pile of candy to Joshua and said, take some candy with you when you go. On another day, Joshua came as usual, asking in surprise, Sister, why are you out of bed? I'm fine, really. I've had this cold for too long. Joshua, can I ask you a favor? Go out with me today. Seraphine's offer surprised him. Did she just ask me for a favor? She continued, there's something I need to confirm. The two went to a gallery. It seems Seraphine was looking for something. Joshua ran after her, calling out, Sister, slow down. You said you were going to the gallery to see paintings. Why are you in such a hurry? She replied, this isn't the place I need. What do you mean? Sister, what's going on? Seraphine thought of a boy from her memory. The thing I need to see, I need to confirm if what I saw in the history book last time was real. Suddenly, she stopped and stared at what was in front of her. It was a portrait of a boy. She recognized this person. Icarus. The history books describe Icarus as the one who devoured the gods. Not only did he annihilate the entire ancient royal family, but he also tore off their wings, thus earning his nickname. Thus, Icarus achieved power equivalent to those of divine blood, and with that power, he created an empire of humans. And before all this happened, Icarus was once a boy who was frequently beaten. Memories appeared in Seraphine's mind. In the room, a boy was kneeling on the floor. Her teacher picked up a wooden cane and struck down. His cry terrified a little girl sitting beside him doing her lesson. The teacher walked over to her, picked up her assignment, and reminded her, "Seraphine, are you done with your work? You made a mistake again. I will continue until you get it right. He will take the punishment for you. So let's begin." The scene changes. The girl is now in her room. The boy was summoned and asked her with some curiosity, "Your Highness, you called for me. Come here and sit down." "What? I'm not going to punish you. Sit here and roll up your sleeves." He walked towards her and pulled up his sleeve. His arm was covered in dark bruises from a whip. The girl touched them, her voice full of sorrow. "It's my fault that you have to suffer. I'm fine. I'm just doing what I have to do. So I hope you won't dirty your hands." "Don't say that. What is your name?" "Even though you've been deprived of your freedom, you must still have a name, right?" "I want to know your name." "I don't have a name, Your Highness." She asked him while taking medicine from the medical box. "Then, would it be all right if I gave you one?" "Icarus. That is the name of a human who once had wings. Although neither of us has wings now, a day will come when that no longer matters." The young man said, moved, "Thank you, my lady." After that, I stayed up every night, focusing on my studies, with the hope that Icarus would no longer be beaten because of me. And a year later, the time came when the whipping boy was no longer needed. In the palace, "Father, I have a request. The knighting ceremony for the freeman, Icarus, will be held." At the knighting ceremony, Icarus knelt at her feet and swore, "I will be the princess's wings. From now on, I swear to become your sword and shield, and to protect only you for the rest of my life." He was once a loyal knight of the king, Dom, but then he killed his entire family and became the emperor. Seeing his sister's pensive look, Joshua asked worriedly, "Sister, are you all right? Can you stand like that for a moment?" "Huh? Oh, all right." Remembering the old story made Seraphine feel very distressed. She hugged Joshua and burst into tears. "Now let's go back." The two of them got on the carriage to return to the mansion. At this moment, Joshua said in a panic, "It's already late." Ahead was Iris von Rubia, the eldest son of Duke Rubia. Seeing his brother, Joshua was extremely worried and thought to himself, "This is bad. He shouldn't interfere when she's like this. I heard you were sick, but you seem to be fine." "Of course, it's been a few days. Father will be back soon, and he was busy, so he told me to give this to you." She asked, "What is it?" "You might not need it right now, but this is good medicine for a cold. And there's something else." Seraphine took out the item. In her hand was a beautiful piece of jewelry. "These are the earrings you once wanted. It seems your plan succeeded this time because you changed your approach. Seraphine, you must remember that because you fainted, you missed the meeting with the crown prince. You've been out long enough. Don't you think you should keep that postponed promise?" Faced with her brother's attitude, Seraphine felt annoyed and replied, "Brother, don't talk to me like that. It feels like you're interrogating me. I will go see the crown prince, so don't you worry. I was going to postpone the meeting if you weren't well yet, but you seem fine now, so I don't think it's necessary anymore." "Of course, you're always like that. The meeting with the crown prince will be tomorrow morning. Get some rest." After saying that, Iris left, leaving Seraphine and Joshua behind. Iris's reminder made her ponder, "Tomorrow morning, it seems important, doesn't it? The crown prince is the one who betrayed his fiancée Seraphine for his childhood friend. Maybe I should go see what he looks like." The next morning, Seraphine prepared to meet the prince, as her brother had reminded her the previous afternoon. The maid standing beside her asked worriedly, "Are you really all right with meeting the crown prince looking like that, my lady? This outfit seems too simple to meet your fiancé in." She replied cheerfully, "It's fine." The carriage stopped at a magnificent palace building. Seraphine was helped down from the carriage by a servant. She slowly entered the palace, looking around and making her own speculation. I'm sure this was orchestrated by Melanie Bazelin, the daughter of the Empress's beloved servant, the Crown Prince's childhood friend, and the one everyone knows as the Crown Prince's mistress. Even though the Crown Prince clearly knew his fiancée would be visiting, he still invited her. It's not really surprising. After all, he's the one who never contacted me, not even when I was confined or when I collapsed. Seraphine entered a room. Inside, there was already a person sitting there. It was Leonhard von Phobos, the only crown prince of this empire. Seraphine wondered, this man, could he be a descendant of Icarus? I heard Icarus never married and maintained his lineage through adoption. He doesn't look like him at all. Sitting down at the table, Leonhard looked at her suspiciously. You look different today. Is that so? Looking at Seraphine's appearance, he thought to himself, not just different, but quite strange. But well, it doesn't matter, as she'll soon be whining as usual. Leonhardt said, all the tutors sent by the royal family have praised your intellect. I didn't expect you to be so dedicated to your studies. It seems you will be an excellent empress. How timely, since we're on the subject. Your Highness, you must be very busy. Let's cancel our engagement. Seraphine's proposal turned Leonhardt to stone. He couldn't believe it and reminded her. Those are disrespectful words, Lady Rubia. An engagement is not a trivial thing like child's game. Once it's broken, it can never go back to how it was. I've noticed it before, but you are truly too erratic. Seraphine stood up and replied nonchalantly. I don't care what you think, Crown Prince. I just wanted to inform you in advance, so you won't be surprised when the official request to annul the engagement is made. Leonhardt moved towards her and asked, is it because I need to use a lot of magic today? You should know that only I can handle the magic you need. If you're rebelling just to get my attention, then fine, you've succeeded today. She pushed the Crown Prince's hand away and replied in annoyance. But I don't think someone who never cared about me when I was in trouble has the right to say that. It seems your mistress is waiting in the garden. Shouldn't you go see her? After saying that, Seraphine left, leaving Leonhardt behind calling after her. Wait, returning to the mansion. My lady, she wondered, what happened? The master has requested the whole family to have dinner together tonight. The maid held an exquisite wooden box and gave it to her, saying, last time, it seemed you wanted to wear the diamond earrings you received as a gift. All right, give it to me. Seraphine opened the box and put on the earrings. The scarred wrist appearing in the mirror reminded her of a few things. I've seen signs that Seraphine has been self-harming. Does father know that she hurt herself to get the family's attention? The father who never cared for his daughter until now. Is he giving her earrings just to try and guess her feelings now that she's changed? If so, Seraphine is truly pitiful. She looked at the earrings in the mirror and remarked cheerfully, today, pearls seem more appealing than diamonds. Anyway, I don't need to be a good girl. Yes, I understand. At the dinner table, I heard the emperor contacted the ducal house of Safia today. Duke Safia? Did he do it personally? I'm not sure, but that's the impression I got. Seraphine, you went to the palace today, didn't you? How was the crown prince? Nothing special. He noticed her earrings and wondered, pearl earrings? Those earrings suit you very well. Yes, thank you for the compliment. I received the gift you gave me, father. The outfit I'm wearing today doesn't quite match, so I couldn't really use your gift, father. Hearing that, her father said, I must not have thought it through. I should buy another dress to go with those earrings as a gift. No need, really no need. Joshua, sitting beside her, laughed and said, Father, look at you. For the first time you're thinking with your head instead of your feelings. Seraphine was surprised. What? Her father continued the conversation. I heard you were the one who first mentioned breaking the engagement with the crown prince. Yes, this is a matter concerning the royal family. You should have at least discussed it with me. If this continues, restoring the engagement with the crown prince will become impose. Cybele, I don't care. Joshua was surprised. What? You don't care? You acted like you loved him, even pretended to want to die. Seraphine replied with an indifferent attitude. When I come of age, I plan to leave this family. That's why I propose to break the engagement. Wouldn't it be better for you, father, if I, the so-called disgrace of the family, left? Seraphine, who taught you to say such things? When did you learn to talk like Joshua? Seraphine stood up and left the dining table, her attitude unchanged. Don't raise your voice at me. I'll be leaving first. Icarus stood up and said to his father, I'll follow her. Anyway, this can't be resolved like this. Icarus left, leaving the father and son still stunned by what had just happened. At this moment, a woman approached and said, What is going on? Seraphine returned to her private room. The recent incident in the dining room made her feel melancholy. Hearing someone open the door and approach, she said, I'll take care of everything myself, so you don't need to be by my side. Are you listening to what I'm saying, bro? There. Icarus just stood there without saying anything. Brother, please just leave me alone for a while. After a long while, Icarus finally spoke. Go and apologize to father. That was an engagement that happened only because of your stubbornness. Have you ever thought about what will happen to the honor of the Rubia family if you talk about breaking the engagement now? Go apologize to father and to His Highness the Crown Prince as well. Seraphine felt wronged. Are you telling me to bow my head to the Crown Prince right now? That's right. Father has been lenient with you because of your illness. But seeing how you're behaving, it seems that just indulging you is not the solution. Brother, the perfect ending you imagine is no different from me dying an early death. Iris's voice became firmer. Seraphine von Rubia. As if not sensing Iris's anger, Seraphine continued. Do you know the real reason this engagement started, brother? To survive, I need someone who can replace the amount of magic that escapes from these wings. I need so much magic that a normal person can't handle it. Only the crown prince has the ability to supply the amount of magic I need. That's why I insisted on continuing the engagement, even if it meant being stubborn. Now, the royal family is demanding a large sum of money to maintain the engagement, claiming it's the price for my life. No matter how much the royal family demands, father has no choice but to quietly agree to continue this contract until the day I die. However, if from the beginning I had strongly expressed my intention to break the engagement like a foolish child, the situation would change. I no longer want a life or love bought with money. Since this started with my stubbornness, let me end it with my stubbornness. I didn't expect you to be this understanding. If you had said this earlier, I wouldn't have misunderstood. She interrupted. You wouldn't have believed it. You would have thought I had another motive behind it. You would have thought I was scheming to get more attention. Brother, you're just like everyone else. No, you're worse than them. Even if I screamed, you wouldn't listen, yet you gave me false hope. Please leave. Just like usual, pretend you didn't hear. That's what makes you my brother. Icarus really did leave Seraphine alone. At that moment, a maid entered her room. My lady, I want to be alone. Excuse me, my lady, your grandmother has returned. She was surprised. My grandmother? Seeing her lean forward, the maid panicked. Please don't overexert yourself. She said that since the young lady is unwell, she will visit when she has time. Even so, since she is an elder, I should go visit her. Yes, she already knows what happened at the restaurant. Hearing the maid say that, she felt apprehensive. She said she would scold me later. All right, I will do as my grandmother wishes. The next morning, thinking about how her grandmother had arrived, but Seraphine still hadn't seen anything, she wondered. Still hasn't called for me? Seraphine turned to the maid and said, I'm going out for some fresh air. Seraphine wandered outside, and suddenly she saw a woman in gardening clothes planting flowers. Is she a gardener? It looks like she's about to prune the flowers. She spoke up. Are you planning to pull them out? I hope you don't. Even if you pull them out, please don't throw them away. Just replant them in a sunny spot. The woman stopped her work and answered her. Why should I do that? Seraphine replied. In the past, I used to think that sacrificing small things for a greater purpose was the right thing to do. The woman said, It seems your thinking has changed now. Seraphine smiled lightly. There's no need to try to pull out and throw away this flower just because it spoils the aesthetic. Some people might not like it, calling a weed, but the nature of a weed is just a human standard. Small flowers also have their own meaning in their existence. Respecting a fate that blooms and withers in a moment is the right thing to do. And since the world is vast, someone must have given this flower a name. I think from that moment on, this flower was no longer a weed. Seraphine said in one breath. The woman just listened without replying, at which point Seraphine felt embarrassed. She said, Lately, I've been feeling lonely, so I mumbled to myself. I'll be leaving now. Just as she was about to leave, her maid ran up and called her. My lady, there you are. She wondered. What is it? It's nothing, but your grandmother, Madame Rubia. As soon as she finished speaking, the maid saw the woman standing next to Seraphine and said in fear, Oh my, I greet Madame Rubia. The maid's attitude surprised Seraphine. She looked at the woman in front of her. She's not a gardener, but Madame Rubia. Seraphine was still surprised by the woman before her. What? She wondered. This woman is my grandmother? After calming down, she bowed and apologized to her. I'm sorry, she thought to herself. How embarrassing that I didn't recognize my own grandmother's face. I haven't recalled my memories of her, so I made a mistake. Her grandmother said gently, You've apologized. Now lift your head. I want to see my granddaughter's face after all this time. It's been over 10 years since we last met, so it's understandable that you didn't recognize me. How was my performance? I was so worried you would call me grandmother in the middle of it. She replied helplessly. Why did you pretend not to know me? I was telling such interesting stories. How could you interrupt me? You said you were lonely, right? My other grandchildren have grown distant from me, so I'm lonely too. Let's have tea together. She wondered in surprise. Tea right now? Is she angry that I didn't recognize her? I hope the servant won't be punished for this. She asked, So, can I visit you alone later? Do you think I called you here to punish you? Faced with her grandmother's question, Seraphine didn't know how to respond. Very well, since I'm not properly dressed at the moment, I'll call for you again later. A while later, in the room, seeing that Seraphine had arrived, her grandmother stood up and called to her. Don't just stand there like a child waiting to be scolded. Come here and sit down. There are many things I want to hear from you. Throughout the conversation, Seraphine had a feeling that was very new yet very familiar. It's strange. Instead of being scolded, this feels like meeting an old friend again. Maybe I can open up to my grandmother. Seeing the scars on Seraphine's hands, her grandmother's face darkened as she asked, "Did your father do that to you?" She thought to herself, "It's just a small wound, so she must have noticed." She replied in confusion, "No, father has never hit me. So was Arist. I don't have a good relationship with my brother Arist, but he's not the one who did it either. I did this to myself." Seraphine, actually, I called you here today because I have something to tell you. The last time I saw you, you were clinging to my leg, sobbing and begging me. It's funny, but even after leaving this place, I couldn't stop thinking about your face. I'm sorry. I should have taken your hand back then. Looking at your hands now, I regret it even more. As her grandmother's hand touched hers, childhood memories suddenly flooded back. The Duchess died so young. How tragic. In the corner of the room, Seraphine's grandmother and some man were talking. I'm sorry to bring this up, but the test results show that Lady Seraphine seems to have drained the Duchess's magic. People with the same illness as the young lady often cause those around them to die in mysterious circumstances. Her grandmother asked, "Who else knows about this?" The Duke has not yet been informed. So for now, only you and I know about this. The blonde girl standing from behind suddenly rushed out and grabbed her hand. That girl was Seraphine. She cried while pleading, "Grandmother, please don't tell father, please. If he finds out, he'll never hug me again. He'll hate me. Call me the child who destroyed her mother. Then, all right, I'll keep this a secret, but if the worst case scenario happens." Hearing that, she quickly swore, "That won't happen. I'll apologize to mother later. Anyway, I'll see mother again soon." Remembering the old stories, she let go of her hand and stood up from the table. Why are these memories coming back right now? Her grandmother called after her in confusion, "Seraphine." Wandering alone in the hallway, she thought about the memories that had just appeared in her head. Mother died because her daughter drained her magic. It's understandable why grandmother stayed away from Seraphine. But at that moment, she should have held her granddaughter's hand. Treating her granddaughter like a monster and now apologizing? It's too late. The next day, as Seraphine was just going out, she ran into her grandmother in her gardening clothes. She immediately turned her head to avoid her, but her grandmother's voice made her stop. "You don't have to forgive me, but I hope you won't avoid me anymore. I didn't come back to make you uncomfortable." She replied to her grandmother in confusion, "I'm sorry for leaving like that yesterday, but you know that being near me isn't good for you, right? I thought just coming back and holding your hand once would be enough for me. But now I'm selfishly wanting to talk to you more." Hearing her grandmother say that, Seraphine's heart wavered a little. I can feel her regret. As she really felt guilty all this time, she walked towards her grandmother and called softly, "Grandma. Call me grandmother, like you used to when you were little." "Yes, grandmother. Thank you for keeping your promise." Hearing her say that, her grandmother immediately became embarrassed. "You're thanking me for something that should have been so natural." She stood up and said to her, "The wind is too cold. That's enough for today. Let's go inside. Oh, by the way, I have a gift for you, but unfortunately, it will arrive late." She wondered in surprise, "A gift? You said you don't get along with Iris. You must have had a hard time putting up with someone so thoughtless." "Ah, that. Well, I'll tell Iris to buy you a pair of gloves." When I held your hand, I noticed it was so cold. Even though your brother is clumsy, he can at least do that small task, right? If he doesn't do a good job, let me know. Hearing her grandmother say that, she laughed. "Yes, I understand." At the mansion, Iris stood at the window and witnessed everything. He was surprised. Seraphine and grandmother? Early in the morning, Iris took Seraphine to the carriage. He reached out his hand to help her up. Seraphine. She was about to give him her hand, but pulled it back midway. "I only spent a short time with mother, and yet Lady Rubia lost her life. Could it be that right now? Does he think I'm ignoring him?" Seraphine broke the silence. "Brother, about what happened just now. I will definitely be more careful from now on." Faced with Iris' stiffness, Seraphine didn't know how to continue the conversation. She felt this atmosphere was suffocating. Arriving at the shop, a girl ran out to greet the two of them. "My goodness, what a surprise. We are truly honored to have the Duke and Lady Rubia personally visit our shop. What brings you here today?" "I came to buy gloves for my sister." "Ah, I see. Please have a seat. I will bring out the list of items." "For you." Iris immediately refused. "No need, I'll look myself." "Brother, there's no need for that. Grandmother specifically asked me to choose them. I'll look myself and choose what suits you best." Iris remembered his grandmother's words. "Let me see what your aesthetic sense is like." Seraphine felt flustered hearing Iris say that. Who would have thought buying a pair of gloves would be so serious? The shop staff brought out a catalog and served her attentively. "Here is the catalog. We have also prepared some light refreshments for you." No need, really no need. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out. This is the gift I want to give, so let's not argue anymore. She turned, immediately recognizing it was Leon Hart. Beside him was his mistress, Melanie. I hate seeing them, but there's no reason to avoid them. Seraphine beckoned to the staff member, who immediately ran over. You called for me, Lady Rubia. This tea is delicious. This is the first time I've tried it. Could you tell me its name? As expected, the lady's eye is exquisite. This is saffron tea, newly added to our collection. Only 3 stigmas are harvested from each saffron flower, which not only makes it expensive, but also rare, very difficult to obtain. We usually only serve it to special guests. Seraphine replied. Hearing that, I feel I must do justice to the teas. Value. I didn't mean to disturb you. Leon Hart looked towards Seraphine, who was talking to the staff. He immediately walked towards her. Melanie called after him. Your Highness. Leon Hart called. Lady Rubia. Seraphine calmly replied. Your Highness the Crown Prince. It seems I have just met the little son of the Empire. I didn't expect to see you here. It's rare to see you out like this. She replied nonchalantly. Someone insisted on giving me a gift, giving me no choice but to stay here. A gift? From some man? This time is just like the last. So who is it? I've said it before. This won't make me jealous. Leon Hart said in a mocking tone, but Seraphine just replied indifferently. You don't need to worry about such things. Your Highness. Leon Hart's attitude remained very sarcastic. We still have an unfinished conversation from last time. Since we've met here, let's move somewhere else to finish it. That conversation already ended that day. Faced with Seraphine's attitude, Leon Hart bowed his head and whispered to her. Lady Rubia, isn't it about time your magic started to run out? For your own sake, it's best to comply willingly. Suddenly a voice rang out. What are you doing? Iris approached. Even if you don't like me, just stand still for a moment. Iris pulled Seraphine back and reminded them both. We are attracting a lot of attention. I advise you to avoid actions that could cause rumors. So, since our business here is done, we will leave. Leon Hart looked at Iris and Seraphine with disbelief. She is with the Duke. I didn't know the Duke of Rubia loved his sister so much. Ignoring Leon Hart's words, Iris pulled his sister away, leaving the crown prince still calling from behind. Wait, Lady Rubia, when will you make time for me? In response to Leon Hart was only Seraphine's coldness. She said, I will not spend any more time with you, Your Highness. The two left the shop. Witnessing what had just happened, Iris couldn't help but think. So the person with the crown prince is his rumored lover? The rumors are indeed true. Breaking off the engagement was the right decision. Seraphine looked very sad. He quickened his pace to catch up with Seraphine and called out to her. Seraphine, here are the gloves that grandmother requested. I also ordered a matching dress and shoes. Seeing the gift, Seraphine felt very happy. I like them. Seeing his sister smile, Iris said gently, your smile is very beautiful. This is the first time I've seen you smile like that. And don't think too much about what happened today. She replied, I don't mind, besides you helped me. If that's the case, I'm also relieved. Ah, now I remember something. Father told me to keep my schedule free for tomorrow. Tomorrow? The Emperor has summoned you. She thought to herself, the Emperor is summoning me personally. Could it be related to the annulment of the engagement? I didn't expect you to wear the dress I gave you. You look beautiful. Thank you, Father. I heard you've been spending more time with your grandmother recently. I guess so, since I've been at the villa with her all this time. Come to think of it, the red diamond you once said you wanted is about to be auctioned. If you wear it at your debut, it will surely attract attention. Hearing her father's words, she felt something was a bit strange. His words today sound strangely intentional. She asked him directly, Father, is there something you want to tell me? What do you mean? It's unusual for you to suddenly show interest in me. In any case, you shouldn't worry about me. If you want to remarry, I wish you happiness. Recalling the past, she told herself, because I was a rebellious child, Father couldn't remarry. He interrupted. That's not what I'm thinking about right now. Seraphine, are you really thinking of leaving the family? She realized, so this is what Father wanted to talk about. Then she replied, yes. At her answer, her father immediately became serious. I have indulged your whims until now, but this is something I cannot understand. You would give up the family's reputation, and for what reason? You're not even getting married. The carriage had just arrived. He immediately got out and left her with a sentence. That is unacceptable. Give up that thought. I have an appointment. So when this meeting is over, you must go home immediately. Hearing him say that, Seraphine only felt confused. I thought he would be happy if I left the family, but his reaction was the complete opposite. What an unpredictable father. In the palace, Before her was Emperor Carlos von Foibos. Lady Rubia, I assume you have heard of the divine weapons. Hearing the Emperor say this, Seraphine was extremely surprised, wondering, suddenly mentioning these weapons, I thought you summoned me because of the request to annul the engagement. The Emperor probed her. Have you ever seen them in person? She wondered to herself, what is he implying? She replied, No, Your Majesty, I have never seen them. The Emperor was still not convinced. Are you sure? I heard that your grandmother, Lady Rubia, is searching for one of those weapons. Grandmother? Mentioning her grandmother, she thought to herself, this is the first time I've heard about this. Why would she want such a thing? The Emperor must think I know something, so he summoned me to ask. The Emperor reminded Seraphine, whatever the truth is, do not try to come into contact with those weapons. If a winged lady touches them, it will have a bad effect on her. And now that you no longer receive magic from the Crown Prince, you will have to be more careful, right? Hearing the Emperor say this, she was surprised. Wait, does that mean? That's right. I also accept your request to annul the engagement. Now in the palace corridor, Seraphine still couldn't believe it. The annulment went more smoothly than I expected. Did Father intervene? Now I should return to the estate and see Lady Rubia. Suddenly, Crown Prince Leonhard appeared before her, speaking in a sarcastic tone. Lady Rubia, I guess I should congratulate you, shouldn't I? You finally achieved the annulment you so desired. She greeted him, the little son of the Empire. I heard that Duke Saphir was involved in this annulment. Perhaps that is why the Emperor summoned you. Duke Saphir, if I remember correctly, Saphir is one of the founding families of the Empire. However, the current Duke rarely leaves the North. Why would someone like to be mentioned at this time? Leonhard continued to speak. Now everything is clear. The sudden involvement of Duke Saphir in this annulment was unusual from the beginning. Leonhard took her hand and questioned her. Since when did things become like this? Leonhard's attitude frightened her. Does he suspect a connection between me and the Duke? How shameful. She spoke up in response to him. Your Highness, isn't this a bit hypocritical? You have someone else besides your fiancé, don't you? The Crown Prince retorted. Melanie and I are childhood friends. We were together long before I met you. Don't tarnish our friendship with baseless accusation. Oh, so friends can kiss? If so, I guess I'll never have friends in my life. If that's the case, perhaps it's time for me to seek a new love, someone stronger than you, Your Highness. Maybe Duke Saphir, who knows? Leonhard looked incredulous. Lady Rubia, Seraphine pulled her hand away from the Crown Prince and said, As for the humiliation I endured, consider it repaid with the very magic you once granted me. With that, I hope the light of the sun always shines upon you. Seraphine walked out of the palace, thinking about the Crown Prince's words just now. So Duke Saphir was really involved in the annulment. There is no connection between us. So could it be because of the Crown Prince? Perhaps he is gradually paving the way for the woman he desires to become Empress. Anyway, I've dragged an uninvolved person into this mess. I should have said that I had never met him. Even so, he might become an ally. Maybe I should find out more about him. Seraphine called a maid. Hey girl, come here for a moment. I want to know more about Duke Saphir. Do you know where I can find information? Duke Saphir? Maybe a portrait of him, his height, age, weight. No, not those details. I want to know if he has visited the palace recently or what his recent actions have been. Oh, I thought you were arranging a marriage. If so, why not ask for help from an information guild? An information guild? They collect and provide information, right? Can you ask them to find it for me? Of course, I will find out and report back to you. But before that, the madam wants to see you, my lady. Seraphine went to her grandmother as summoned. Her grandmother said cheerfully, Seraphine, the gift I promised you a few days ago has just arrived. It was so hard to get that it could be considered a relic. Anyway, you are my only granddaughter, and this is the first time you have actually asked for something. Me? Seeing your reaction, I guess you didn't think I would actually get it, right? No, of course not. Seraphine watched her grandmother open the box, thinking to herself, my recent memories should be coming back by now. Have I ever asked for something like this? The box was opened, and inside was a sea blue spear. This surprised her greatly. This is Metatron. Seraphine looked nervously at the weapon in front of her. She stepped forward and touched it, wondering, why is Metatron here? Although there is no reaction. It's still not rusted and the soul inside is still intact. Has it not woken up yet? Her grandmother reminded her. If you hold it like that, it will be very heavy. Seraphine absent-mindedly held the spear. Syria. Seraphine reassured her grandmother. "It's okay, Grandma. Please stay away from me." A feeling appeared as she held the weapon. She wondered. The magical power suddenly disappeared. Is Metatron trying to awaken? A blue light appeared on Seraphine's body. Her grandmother was immediately frightened. "Impossible. I'll call a healer right away." Seraphine replied weakly. "No hurry." At this moment, the blue light had become stronger, and behind Seraphine, a pair of wings seemed to sprout. "The flow of magic is very chaotic. I must quickly control it." Now, she was feeling the power and connecting with the weapon she was holding in her hand. The voice from the weapon rang out. "Princess." "Impossible. You are clearly dead." Hearing the voice from the weapon in her hand, she replied softly, "That's right." Seraphine tried to control the weapon's power, which exhausted her, and she fell. Her grandmother rushed towards her in a panic. Syria. In Seraphine's memory, Metatron, the first soul bound to this weapon 500 years ago, was my former fiancé. Seraphine was taken to a room to rest. How could mother give such a dangerous weapon to a child? It's a legendary spear. Where did this thing come from? She only touched it for a moment. Moreover, this is the first time my granddaughter has asked me to tell a story from my youth. What could I do? I just brought it here on the way. Hearing her say that, her father immediately interrupted. "You can't bring this thing here. What kind of grandmother gives her granddaughter a relic as a gift?" Her grandmother said calmly, "Here, it came here." Suddenly her father called, "Joshua." At this moment, Joshua was secretly doing something. Hearing him say that made him startle. "I didn't do anything," he scolded. "Seeing your sister faint and you still want to touch it. This dangerous weapon cannot be kept. Whether it's destroying it or offering it to the emperor, it's best to keep it far away from Seraphine." At this point, her grandmother also had to agree. "All right, there's no other way." However, an image appeared that made her wonder. But it seems Seraphine was controlling the spear. Or did I see it wrong? The maid came up and called, "Duke, my lady." At this time, Seraphine had woken up. Joshua handed her a glass of water. "Drink this, sister. Aren't you sick of this? Not long ago, you were also bedridden like this." She smiled helplessly. "That's right, back to square one." Joshua said, "Everyone was just here and left not long ago. Is that so?" Joshua lowered his face. He expressed, "Last time, I was wrong. I said I would think about it. Thinking back, it's so annoying, I'm sorry." Joshua's attitude surprised her. Her face was like it was writing the sentence. "Am I an apple or something?" Seeing this, Joshua shouted, "What's with that expression?" At this moment, the grandmother from outside laughed and reminded them both. "Joshua, your voice is loud enough to be heard through the door. Don't shout in front of a patient." "Grandmother, is there something I haven't said?" Joshua ran out of the room in embarrassment, leaving behind a sentence. "No, there isn't." The grandmother sat down by the bed and asked about her. "Is your body okay?" "Yes, I'm sorry for making everyone worry. If I had known that thing was so dangerous, no matter how many times you asked, I wouldn't have bought it." "Grandmother, actually I was going to say it earlier, but I never asked you for that." Her grandmother held the letter in her hand, surprised to hear her say that. "What? But it's clear. You didn't send me a letter?" A letter. Holding the letter her grandmother gave her, she was suspicious. "If I sent a letter to grandmother, I would definitely remember. But I don't remember anything. Even the handwriting is different." "Grandmother, this wasn't sent by me." "What? It seems someone impersonated me." "What do you mean? I thought it had been a long time since you last sent me a letter." "Grandmother, please don't blame yourself. The one to blame is the one who impersonated me." "That's right. This is actually a stroke of luck. I will handle this spear." "How will you handle it?" Her grandmother said, "It's a coincidence that the royal family mentioned preserving the spear, so I decided to send it there. I will investigate who is behind the letter later." Hearing her say that, a suspicion arose in her heart. The royal family? The emperor knows grandmother has this weapon. Maybe the one who sent the letter was the emperor. In any case, he must not know that Metatron is still alive. "Grandmother, please let me see it one more time." Immediately she refused. "No, if you faint again, what am I supposed to do?" She pleaded, "But just this once? Grandmother, just one more time." Faced with her pleading, her grandmother had to compromise. "The spear is placed at the end of the second floor. The Duke didn't arrange it, so find your own way." In the evening, Seraphine followed her grandmother's words to the place where the spear was placed, a sight that surprised her. In front of her was the image of her brother, holding the spear from this afternoon in his hands. The spear lit up. Seraphine immediately ran towards her brother. Brother, wake up." However, as soon as Seraphine touched her brother, a stream of light erupted. She was immediately thrown back by a force. A voice rang out, "Princess, Princess, where has your raven black hair gone? And why do you look like this? Seraphine was startled. This way of speaking cannot be. Her brother advanced towards her, but the voice was very strange. The princess's soul is definitely still you, but this body belongs completely to someone else. Don't tell me you also transferred your soul into a weapon. Or perhaps the story of being reborn as someone else after death is true. Is that so? Seraphine realized inside her brother's body was Metatron. Seraphine recalled her past life. My first impression of Metatron? It was the worst possible. Metatron grumbled. What is this? This ugly thing. Not only lacking wings, but also lacking many other things. No matter how low his status was, he was still a nobleman. So rude and vulgar. She replied to Metatron's criticism. Yes, I was wondering who I would be engaged to, and now everything is clear. What? I heard your spear skills are excellent, but despite that talent, your rank is still low. You're just trying to use me to raise your status, right? What does my appearance have to do with this? Ah, so you're the princess who turned a slave into a free citizen. I was wondering what kind of princess you were. That's the necessary audacity. What? Metatron said nothing more, just bowed and left. We'll meet again sometime, princess. Even after that, Metatron continued to maintain his contemptuous attitude towards me. My father arranged this marriage to get rid of a troublesome child like me. Why are all my fiancés like this? Back in the present, Seraphine stood up and demanded, Metatron, get out of my brother's body now. Metatron laughed mockingly. He grabbed Seraphine's chin and stared intently. Is this body really your brother's? Why should I? This is a rare and useful body. But more importantly, answer my question. Why did someone from 500 years ago appear here in a different form? Were you reborn with your memories intact? She replied, I don't know what happened either. When I opened my eyes after dying, this was already my body. The shell has changed, and you don't know the reason even after turning into this state. She pushed Metatron's hand away from her face. Maybe I'm also being punished. Hearing that, Metatron said agitatedly, Punishment? That's ridiculous. Who decides that you deserve to be punished? The only one who can punish you is me. Princess, you haven't forgotten what you did to me, right? His reminder startled her. That's right, it was raining like this that day too. She remembered what had happened. It's no wonder the palace is so quiet today. It seems all the knights are at the party. Icarus must also be at the party today. Suddenly a knife flashed by. A group of people rushed in. Seraphine dodged in time, she realized with a start. Assassins. The moment the palace is empty, something like this happens. Who sent them? Was it father, or was it as Metatron once said? If a wingless person like her even commands a knight of slave origin, there will be a lot of opposition. She suspected. Could they have been sent by those who do not accept Icarus? Anyway, if this continues, I will die. Just as the assassins raised their swords to strike at Seraphine, a light appeared, restraining all the assassins there. Seraphine looked at the light in amazement. It was from the window frame. Metatron was sitting there with a mocking look. I knew this would happen. I had a feeling you would die soon. She called his name, Metatron. Metatron rushed towards the assassins and struck. They cried out in pain. Ugh. She looked at Metatron, still in shock. To eliminate so many in a flash, he stepped forward and asked, Are you all right, princess? Metatron, why are you here? To save my fiancé. Metatron reached out and touched her wound, saying, The slave you always bring with you is at the party. And you're here. What the hell is going on? Seraphine pushed his hand away and replied, You know very well that royal knights are often required to attend parties. Metatron continued irritably. Well, it seems you still admire that slave to the very end, huh? Don't forget who just saved you. As he was speaking, Metatron suddenly froze. Behind Seraphine was an assassin rushing toward her. Seraphine, not understanding what was happening, called softly, Metatron. Immediately, Metatron rushed towards Seraphine, shielding her from the assassin's knife. He was struck by his knife. At that moment, blood splattered from his back. Seraphine screamed in horror. Metatron. The blow Metatron took for Seraphine had seriously injured him. Metatron collapsed in front of Seraphine, causing her to call out to him in panic, Metatron. Metatron tried to stand up, took the spear in his hand, and finished off that assassin. This exhausted him, and he collapsed. Seraphine ran to support him in fear, Metatron. She burst into tears. Metatron, no, wake up. But even at this moment, Metatron was in a joking mood. You already have an ugly face, and now you're adding a scar to it? If I die like this, no one will care about you, and you'll get into big trouble. Don't talk about death so easily. Wait, I'll call a physician. Seraphine remembered. She had said that at the time, but no one was there. They were too far from main palace where everyone was gathered. When she returned, he was all ready. She cried out in helplessness. There's no way to help. I can't just leave Metatron like this. Suddenly, Seraphine remembered something. She looked at the spear in front of her. When Metatron woke up, he found himself in a room next to the spear. He felt something strange about his body. Huh? What is this? At this moment, Seraphine entered Metatron. He asked her, "Princess, what is this? Your body is dead." Then she pointed to the spear next to him and said calmly, "In there, I placed your soul into that spear." What? It was the best way to save you. Metatron still couldn't believe it and exclaimed, "Good, that was the best way." Contrary to Metatron's attitude, she continued calmly, "That's right. If you enter the body of a holy spear user, you'll be able to move as you did when you were alive." Metatron completely lost his composure. Living parasitically in someone else's body? Are you crazy? I can't live like this. You'll have to adapt. Metatron frowned and asked, "Princess, is this how you repay me? If I had known things would turn out like this, that day I would no longer be alive. You are breathing and talking to me. You are still alive." Metatron was completely furious. "Are you serious? Kill me, kill me." Seraphine replied in confusion, "I'm sorry, I have no way to do that." Metatron picked up the spear, raised it, and said, "If you don't have a way, think of one." "Princess, won't something flash in your mind when you're on the line between life and death?" Immediately, a sword blocked Metatron. A young man standing next to Seraphine demanded, "Get out of the way." "Princess, he's dangerous." "I'm fine," reassuring the person next to her. She looked at Metatron and ordered. Metatron put down the weapon. Immediately, Metatron seemed to be controlled and dropped the weapon in his hand. He was stunned. "What is this? I just gave you an order. Now, whether you want to or not, you can't resist me." Metatron couldn't believe it. He screamed, "Don't be so absurd. Kill me. Kill me now." Returning to the present, Metatron and Iris's body continued. "Have you finally remembered? I have never forgotten any moment." Metatron grabbed Seraphine's shoulders and said, "Ah, that's right, you say it so well, but look how calm you are. I guess you can't command me anymore." She pushed his hands away. "Let go of me." Seeing her reaction like that, he still smiled and said, "You used to be so proud that you could control me as you wished. I guess you never thought something like this could happen. Do whatever you want." He was surprised. "What? This body will die sooner or later anyway. Magical power is leaking through my wings. It's easy for you to say you're going to die. Losing magical power is something that can be fixed. Why not ask the slave you always carry with you? He's dead. You know that too, right?" "Dead? Impossible. I just saw him not long ago." Hearing Metatron say that, she was surprised. "Is that really true? Whether in the past or now, you only ever think about that slave." "Fine. You don't believe me, do you? He always appears when you're in danger. So why don't we check if he appears this time?" Metatron laughed with amusement and raised the spear towards her. His suggestion made her waver a little. If Icarus is really alive. But she came to her senses and looked towards the outside of the mansion, telling herself, "There's no way he's alive. It's foolish of me to hope." She looked at Metatron, who had now lowered the spear in his hand. "Metatron, I just want to know if Icarus is really alive." Hearing her say that, he immediately reproached her. "As always, you only think about that slave. Is that why you refused the king's final request? The request to turn that slave into a weapon?" His words made her remember something from the past. Her father once said, "My daughter, this will be my final request. Turn him into a weapon." That's all in the past now, Metatron. "What? If I had turned Icarus into a weapon back then, perhaps I could have met him by now. But even if I went back, I still wouldn't do it." Hearing that, Metatron shouted, "Then what about me? Does everything that happened to me not matter? You have a way of making me feel so pathetic." He tightened his grip on the spear. "All right, then let's see if that bastard is really still alive. In the meantime, I'll use this body as I please." "What are you talking about?" Metatron said nonchalantly. "Go talk to your brother. I'm going to rest." "Wait, Metatron." Iris's body collapsed after Metatron's spirit left. He tiredly called out softly, "Seraphine." She noticed that Iris's eyes had returned to normal. Seeing this, she asked, "Brother, are you okay? Where's this?" She suspected. Could it be that Metatron is hiding in Iris's body? I'll pretend not to know. "This is the Holy Spear's storage room." "Brother, why are you here?" "I was looking for you." Seraphine's counter-question startled Iris. He stammered, that thing. More importantly, where's the Holy Spear?" Only then did she realize. "The Holy Spear, it has been absorbed into your body. Brother, it seems the Holy Spear has chosen you." Iris asked back in disbelief. "What?" In the mansion, the maids whispered among themselves. themselves. Lately, hasn't Lord Icarus been acting strange? Ly. At this moment, Icarus was holding a soldier in a chokehold, saying excitedly, "Just come at me." The soldiers were terrified to see Icarus's request. Icarus became full of fighting spirit. Next, Seraphine ran over and seeing the scene before her, she spoke out helplessly, "Everyone, stop! All of you get out." After everyone dispersed, Icarus approached her. "Princess, you've come?" Realizing something, she became suspicious. That tone of voice and those blue eyes. So it's all Metatron's doing. She questioned, "Metatron, this isn't the first time you've had a body. So why are you acting like this? Did you ask my brother Icarus for permission?" "Permission? Ah, is that necessary?" Hearing that, she told herself, even though he said that, Icarus must have silently agreed. There are many ways a weapon can bestow its power upon others. Simply lending its power, temporarily possessing another's body, suppressing the original self and taking over the body, or as with Metatron and Icarus, coexisting in one body through mutual agreement. In other words, my brother Icarus has accepted Metatron. She sighed. What on earth is my brother Icarus thinking? She asked him, "Metatron, you know the war ended a long time ago, right? So what? This is an era of peace. Stop acting so recklessly. Were you locked up for too long?" He replied, uncomfortably, "I was in hiding. That's obvious. You lied about meeting Icarus, didn't you?" Hearing the name she mentioned, he scoffed. "That slave again? You protect him so much that he dares to be wary of me, your fiancé. What are you talking about? Don't tell me you think the way he looks at you is how a servant looks at his master. That's the look of a man looking at a woman." Seraphine retorted, "Don't make baseless accusations." He asked in return, "Baseless? That slave turned the kingdom into a sea of blood right after you died and built an empire, right? That was for the sake of an equal nation. How ridiculous. It was because you died. You don't deny it completely, do you?" "Oh, that's right. Perhaps you also have feelings for that slave, which is why you protect him so fervently. When he became a free man and joined the Royal Knights, didn't you go to the training grounds every day, waiting to see when he would take his knight's oath? I just thought that if Icarus became my knight, it would set a good precedent. As for you, don't you have feelings for my sister?" Hearing that, Metatron was stunned. "That you think I didn't know? It's because you only paid attention to that slave." "Ah, so you knew about that too, right? Is that why you turned me into a weapon as a form of revenge?" She denied what he said. It was a complete accident. How did this conversation turn out like this? At that moment, a maid ran up, interrupting their argument. "My lady, you're here.